Good morning and welcome. Now we've had a change of plan today. I was going to do the heartbreak one, but I woke up this morning and realised you needed to know 7 keys on how to say no and what will happen when you attempt to say no, because it is a really big change in our life when we take a step back, take a breath and decide to say no. So let's just get the list up here. And if you're here this morning and you want to drop a heart, drop a like, say hello, that'd be wonderful. If you ever want to share with somebody the video, that's more than okay. And just let them know that they're allowed to ask questions too. I find in life that certainly with the generations that have come before me, and as I listen to younger ladies as well, we haven't ever been taught to question and to ask good questions. So always let people know that they're allowed to ask questions, because it's as we ask questions, we learn to examine what's happening for us as a unique individual. And then we also are able to help others ask really good questions for their life as well. So today we're going to stick this up. Now, grab your coffee. We've got 7 keys today. It really hit me this morning when I woke up about when I began to say no in my life. And I came from a life where I said yes to everyone and everything, to be honest. I'd work full time, I'd play sport on the weekend, I had my family and relationship at the time, and I'd say yes to whatever somebody needed. And I think as women we do that too, because intuitively we can understand what somebody will need. Now, when you're intuiting what someone will need, the best thing you can do is go back to yesterday's video. And as you go back to yesterday's video and you sit there with your intuition, become aware of how much more empowering it is if you learn to say no to people, or recognise when you want to step in and rescue them, okay? Because sometimes, as we learnt yesterday, sometimes it's not good to be a rescuer, okay? Sometimes people really need to learn their own strength, their own resilience. Okay, so today, So today we're going to look at what happens when you decide, because we can all see areas of our life where we need to say no. There's just no way about it. We really can, if we're honest with ourselves. And look, I believe most women are more than prepared to be honest with themselves, okay? They can see areas where they need to say no. And look, this can even be in the area of our kids. I'm fortunate enough that I raised my kids with excellent communication, and that came up yesterday in a chat I had with my daughter. She's 21 and she's married, and I was talking about a friend of mine who had to make some decisions about his young daughter who wants to get married young. And I said to her, I offered him this advice and this, and, he works out what he needs for his own daughter. And she said to me, Mum, don't they know as a couple to communicate about that sort of thing, about intimacy and what happens between them, etc. And I said, well, no, not everybody does, because not everybody is raised to communicate as openly as, for argument's sake, that I raised my kids. I mean, sometimes, honestly, when you get to the stage where mine have left home, you think, sometimes it's TMI, just too much information. But the other end of the spectrum is you'd rather know and be able to sit back and say, no, I don't need to get involved, they've got to sort it out themselves, than have them struggling and you not know, okay? So there's so many different dynamics, and really it comes down to you as an individual. So when you go to say no, it's absolutely terrifying. I've got to tell you, key one, it is absolutely terrifying. I wanted to crawl under the ground the first time I thought, when I realised I had to start saying no to somebody. It was just terrifying. And I didn't know what I was going to do or what would happen after I said no. So I just need to check that this app is working today. And so when I first began to realise I had to say no, there was sheer fear and terror, and especially if you've never said no to anybody in your entire life, fear and terror of saying no. Okay? My apologies. Okay. All right, here we go. So, you've got to begin to become aware or build into you that you're stronger than the fear or terror, okay? I remember recently I had to get up and give a talk, and I changed the subject changed the actual day that I had to get up and talk, and I said the sheer terror that overcame me, and I went, no, but it's through our actions that we overcome the fear and the terror. So it doesn't go away until we take action. So remember to breathe. Remember our 5-second breathing, and do it for a minute, and the more we do that, we're able to go, right, I'm going to take the next step and the next step and the next step. And I know you can do it. Key 2, equip yourself. Okay, so practice what you might say, and don't practice it in your head, okay, because it just never goes anywhere. It just bounces around like one of those balls. Do you remember those old video games? And when they first came out, they were just like a bouncing ball that went back and forward, and it was called tennis. Okay, when you think about that, that's what happens. It just goes backwards and forwards in our head. So we want to stand up and breathe it out, because what happens is when you practice what you're going to say and you're breathing it out, you're actually getting the energy out, and you're going, oh, that wasn't so bad, I survived that. Okay? Breathe. Okay, and then add kindness. We've got to add kindness in, we really do. And what's underlying the kindness is the fact that we care. Okay, so when you can feel the kindness, you can feel the caring. So we do a hashtag kindness caring, or just hashtag caring, and breathe. It's okay to care. It's okay to be terrified. Sheer terrified. And it's okay, you're gonna live through it. Trust me, I'm sitting here, I live through it. You can too. Key 4. I want you to think about possible outcomes, but they'll never be what you expect or what you think. Okay? They just won't. And there's two sides to the possible outcome. Okay? So the possible outcome is they never speak to you again. And those people are the ones that don't know how to communicate and may be unreasonable, which is why you've had to say no in the first place. I had a particular relative of mine that I knew when I said it was over many, many years, and in the end I had to say, look, until you sort yourself out and it's lasted for 2 years, then we can talk. And it broke my heart. And look, this is heartbreaking stuff, but it's also life-giving when we do it. So it breaks our heart, but we go through the process, and it's actually life-giving. And that's what stops a lot of people going through the change, is they don't want to face the pain and the heartbreak, but we can do that tomorrow. Key 5. Sit down and pray, meditate, and discern your path forward. So ask the question, after I've said no, what are the possible outcomes? Key 4. That's key 4. But also, too, the other type of person, I'll just go back to the other type of person. So if the person's unreasonable, it's probably why you've had to say no. However, if the person's reasonable and you have good communication, they don't mind that you say no. You have a conversation about what your needs are, okay, and what their needs are, and how you can negotiate it so that both of you end up in a balanced place, okay? So sometimes you need to say no and the person's balanced, and that's a good thing, okay? You renegotiate your relationship. And look, in a marriage, you need to be able to renegotiate your relationship and where you're at, the dynamics, because you continue to grow and learn. Okay, we're lifelong learners, and it's important. And if you're with somebody who isn't growing, they're not going to understand it, and it's a very frustrating place. But that's for another day. So, key 5: when you pray and meditate and discern your path forward, don't go to the other extreme, especially if you're dealing with codependence. Don't go to the other extreme of, oh, that's it, it'll all be over, so no drama making because that's from fear. Just go, no, what will be my path forward after I've said no? So what's happened? So part of you may feel that you're choked up and you don't know what will happen, and that's okay. That's where you need to be in your soul space so you can have strength and go, it's okay to not know what's going to happen. If you know the one next step that's going to happen, that's a good thing. As you go through the progression of learning to say no, you begin to get a deeper awareness of what may happen, and you begin to sit in a space where you're going to be okay because you're not in charge. Okay? You're not in charge of outcomes. Key 6, cry all you need. Honestly, cry all you need. Absolutely. Change is tough, so we need to cry because we're women and we feel it. We feel it deeply. And Kleenex needs the business, let's face it. They're still in business after all the years of tears that I had. I used to say I kept them in business. Maybe we do. But at the end of the day, it's just meant to be a bit of light humour, and cry all you need to. But make sure when you cry it comes from your heart, not your head. Sometimes we can cry from our head, and what does that mean? It just means that we're releasing the stress from our mind in order that we can breathe deeper and go into willingly what's happening in our heart. Okay? Now, key 7. Repeat as often as necessary and breathe. After every single key, we need to breathe. Remember, we're breathing life into us. We're breathing in inspiration. We don't want to breathe in expiration, okay? We don't want to expire. We don't want to let life go. We want to embrace it with everything that we possibly can. And so we want to breathe in the inspiration, and we want to breathe it in deep. Hence the 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out for 1 minute every single day will dramatically change your life. Not overnight, but it will happen, okay? You will see increases of change every single day. Okay, if you have any questions, and if you're feeling the sheer terror, put hashtag sheer terror because I can relate. Pop questions in, private message me if you need to. It's okay. We're going to do this together, and we're going to get through it together, because one of the things that you'll realise when you initially start doing this work is that you feel alone. And you're not alone anymore. Okay? All right. Thanks for joining in live this morning. It's been wonderful to have you with me. For everyone, hashtag replay. We love it. And I love to hear your stories about what's happening for you, what's happening as you make changes, as we've gone through the videos each day this week. If you ever need to replay them again and again, feel free to do that. And remember, give it a share if you need to, for people who you know are struggling to say no. Let them know that this is normal, that we struggle when we're learning to say no. See, the emphasis is always on we're learning how to do this. It's always a process, and it's always just one step at a time. Okay, blessings and dreams, and have the most beautiful weekend for those in Australia, especially those of us in Brisbane, where it's actually gotten cold. Yay! Okay, and I will see you same time tomorrow morning. Blessings!